All right, welcome back to the Star Trek Rewatch. Do this every Thursday. We have made it up to the Trouble with Tribbles. We're here in season 2. I will read the entry from Alan Asherman's Star Trek Compendium and then talk briefly about the episode and leave it open for you in the comments section to let me know what you think. So here we go. The writer for this one is David Gerald. The director was Joseph Pevney. Man, he's directing a lot of these. Um, let's see. Anything? Yeah, no other notes there of importance. Who is the composer for this one? I think it was Jerry. Yeah, Jerry Fielding did the music for this. So, and then our guest star, the Captain Koloth, the Klingon. We have William Campbell returning for this. Of course, he played Trelane in the Squire of Gothos, so we get to see him back now as a Klingon. Now, he was intended to be a recurring character, but unfortunately, the next time that a Klingon is needed for an episode, Campbell's unavailable and he's not used. However, if you're a Deep Space Nine fan, Star Trek Deep Space Nine, he does show up in that series as Koloth in season 2, an episode titled Blood Oath. All right, so you might want to check that one out. In fact, all three actors, well, whatever. We'll talk about that at a later date. Let's talk about this episode. Stardate 4523.3. The Enterprise is diverted to Space Station K7 to protect an important shipment of quattrotriticale, a specialized grain. There, Captain Kirk finds his patient severely taxed by Federation Undersecretary of Agricultural Affairs Niles Barris and his pesky assistant Arn Darvin. The arrival of a Klingon ship commanded by the arrogant Captain Koloth complicates matters still further. Station Commander Lurie must grant the Klingons permission for rest and recreation on K7 under the terms of the Organian Peace Treaty while protecting the glorified wheat. So the Organian Peace Treaty here is a callback to the Errand of Mercy, which is an episode we saw earlier. A little bit of continuity in the series, which is always nice. Kirk's most serious problem turns out to be space trader Cyrano Jones, a dealer in rare commodities, including tribbles. Tribbles, living fluff balls that do nothing but coo, eat, and multiply, soon threaten to overwhelm the Enterprise and the space station. So Uhura and Chekhov buy these things. Well, I think Cyrano Jones gives it to him, doesn't he? Go there. They get the little tribbly furbally thing. They get him from the tribbles and bring him back to the Enterprise, and then they multiply, right? So the tribbles find their way into the grain bin, and they devour the grain. Widespread tribble casualties reveal that the grain was poisoned. The Klingon-hating tribbles expose Arn Darvin as a Klingon spy, and then Scotty beams the Enterprise's crop of tribbles to the Klingon ship at the end of the episode as a quote unquote parting gift. This is a comedic episode. Um, it's, again, probably one of the more famous episodes of Star Trek. Even people that don't watch Star Trek know about this one because it's made it into like the popular culture kind of like zeitgeist. Talk about death totals. No deaths in this episode this week, so I don't know what we're at currently. I'd have to go back and check. But if you want the death total for crewman deaths, just go watch last week's episode. I think it's in the description box down there. But no updates on that. What do I think about this one? I like this episode quite a bit. It's very fun. It's just a fun, light-hearted episode of Star Trek. A lot of comedic bits. Now the stuff with Cyrano Jones wears a little. I don't know. It's a little too much for me. It goes on maybe a bit more than I would care. Um, my favorite scene in this episode has to be when Scotty gets into a fight. Actually, all the crew gets into a fight with the Klingons. When this one Klingon is there and he is insulting Captain Kirk, and the ensign that Scotty's with keeps on wanting to get up and fight, and Scotty keeps on, basically telling him, like, hold it, don't do anything. And then once the Enterprise gets insulted, he says, what is it, the line that he says? I didn't mean to say that the Enterprise should be hauling garbage, but that the Enterprise should be hauled away as garbage. And that's just a bridge too far for Scotty. And Scotty throws the first punch, and we get a big old-fashioned barroom fight like in a Western. And it's pretty great stuff. And when Kirk has them all lined up asking who started it and everything, and it's Scotty. It's just good comedic stuff. I really like all the stuff with James doing. He really gets a chance to shine in this one, and Scotty remains like one of my favorite characters in Star Trek. I mean, how can you not love Scotty? Everybody really gets something to do here. It's really nice. This is like a good use of your ensemble cast in this episode, and I got no complaints. This is just a really fun, kind of silly episode, like I said. Um, Even Spock gets a joke made, like he gets a line in there about the ears, related to his ears and stuff. So that's really all I got to say. I'm going to close it out. Let me know what you think about this one below. I do have one thing to add before I sign off here. I was thrift shopping the other day, and I picked up this gem while I was out and about. We've got this hardcover, Star Trek hardcover from 1994. Look at it. It's in great shape. I got this for $2. $2 at the Goodwill. This is the Star Trek novel Sarek by A.C. Crispin. Okay. I'm familiar with A.C. Crispin's work. She wrote the Han Solo Star Wars trilogy, which is probably one of the best, remains one of the best Star Wars, novelizations that I've read. Pretty good stuff. Kind of like a space western. So I look forward to reading this. Evidently, from what I can tell, just by perusing the cover, this takes place after the Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country, I think is what I read in here. I don't know. Anyways, what's really cool is, yeah, this novel begins after the events of Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Spock's mother, Amanda Grayson, is dying, and Spock returns to the planet Vulcan, where he and Sarek enjoy a rare moment of rapprochement. But just as his wife's illness grows worse, duty calls Sarek away, once again sowing the seeds of conflict between father and son. Yet, soon Sarek and Spock must put aside their differences and work together to foil a far-reaching plot to destroy the Federation, a plot that Sarek has seen in the making for nearly his entire career. So it sounds like a good one. Anyways, I know A.C. Crispin wrote several novels. They got them listed here. Yesterday's Sun and Time for Yesterday. So those are two novels that I will probably try to pick up and read at some point, but I just wanted to throw that out there. And there's a picture of A.C. Crispin with Mark Leonard, which is really cool. Great cover work on that by Will. So you can look forward to a review on this at some point. Anyways, I got nothing else to say. Signing off here. Let me know what you think about Trouble with Tribbles below. Thanks for watching. Live long and prosper. Until next time, have a wonderful day.